live streaming. Say hi to Marcella.
Hi.
Alright, today we are going to be doing Zentangles. Now, if you watched our video from yesterday, you saw that we did some spray watercolor, and we put different things on our paper before we sprayed to make a silhouette of different shapes, and we used some magnet letters to create our different shapes when we sprayed. So now what we're doing, this is kind of step 2 of our project, and this is totally optional. You can leave your artwork just like this, and it's really cool looking. Or you can go ahead and add to it using Zentangles, which is what Marcella and I have been working on now. So I brought in one of my professional examples so you can see what that looks like. And I'll give you a close-up on some of this here in a second. And I also started doing Zentangles on one of the spray pieces of paper that we did yesterday. So you can kind of see what that looks like to begin with. So half of it has started and half of it has not been touched.
And it shows up too.
So the idea behind Zentangles is you are repeating, so you're doing the same designs over and over in a certain spot and making patterns, right Marcella? What is a pattern?
You put different colors together, but you put blue, red, blue, red.
Right, so you do one then the other and one and then the other, right? Okay. So you're repeating still, but you're doing it in a pattern. So you're doing it kind of like a rhythm. So you could do it either way on your paper to create different effects and kind of like an implied texture effect. And you can also start making values. So some are really dark, like up here. Some are lighter, where I don't have as much ink. And some are kind of in the middle, where you have more like kind of a gray tone if you squint at it and look at it in a value way. And you want all 3 different values on your paper. So you want some dark, some light, and some in between to balance out your artwork. So I'll kind of give you a close-up of my professional piece. This is one I did quite a few years ago, but you can see all the different designs that I did. This is also watercolor, but you can see the repetition of certain designs. And you can, do one design in one place and then change it up and do it in a different place. And no one's going to look at it that closely and say, oh, well, you have circles in like 3 spots. That's okay. That's all about Zentangles. Zentangles are also supposed to be kind of meditative, so you're supposed to kind of get into like a zone while you're doing it. You're supposed to concentrate and really think about what you're doing. I've never done it with anyone Marcella's age before, and she's doing a great job. She did a good job outlining her artwork. Can I show everybody? So she did a good job outlining everything. Marcella is 5, so she did a great job doing that. Now she's starting to add her designs and repeat some of her patterns, right? And the youngest I've ever done this with in class is probably 3rd grade, just because you really need that discipline to concentrate and be very careful with your drawing. You can't be bouncy, you can't be wiggly. You really have to focus on what you're doing, and you have to have really good fine motor skills because you're working a little bit smaller. So I'll kind of show you what I mean by starting on your Zentangle on the spray watercolor. So what you do to start is you start looking at your shapes that were distinguished when you spray. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, refer to my video from yesterday. So I'm going to take my thin Sharpie. I love using Sharpies for this. If you have pens that you prefer to use, like micro pens or something like that, feel free to use those instead. But Sharpies are cheap, and that's what I usually use with my students that are younger. And granted, the shapes aren't going to be perfect because when I sprayed, some kind of like warped a little bit because the spray got in spots I didn't really want it to.
Okay.
Yep.
I did it too.
Yep. And that's okay. You just outline it the way you see it, not the way you think you see it. So if it warped, you just outline the warp shape. And that's okay. Even if it doesn't quite look like the shape you were shooting for. And sometimes you have to guess. Like this S is kind of hard to see on the yellow. So I have to be very careful where I'm outlining and make sure I kind of follow my edges of my white spots. Hopefully you guys can see that okay in the video. It's kind of at a weird angle for this. So I'm I'm just going to kind of outline my other shapes. And I also used popsicle sticks on this, so that's why I have stripes going
That
across.
looks cool.
Oh yeah. Had like little spots there, didn't it? I'll show you some Zentangles here in a second. If you're totally clueless about Zentangles or ideas for Zentangles, if you just type in Zentangles in a Google search, you'll come up with tons of ideas online.
Look at the pretty dots.
Nice.
I'm using this one because
So we'll see how Marcella does on this. Like I said, I've never done Zentangles with my kindergarten students, and that would be the age Marcella is at right now. So we'll see how she does. She's doing a great job so far. Okay, so this is where I'm at so far. All of my designs have been outlined. Now I can continue with my Zentangles in the background. You want some white areas, and I'm going to leave my designs, my popsicle stick shapes, and my letters white, because you want a place on your artwork for your eye to rest. You don't want it to be too busy. And this also helps my eye kind of bounce around the page because I'm looking at all the different shapes when I'm looking at everything else. So, let's see, I started kind of on this side. I'll kind of just keep adding to it as I go across. Some people like to jump around, and sometimes I'll do that, but I think I'll just kind of start on this side. And you just kind of start thinking about different designs that you could do that repeat or create a pattern, make interesting shapes. I'm just going to do some like curvy stripes
I'm doing
here.
X on the end.
Oh, interesting.
It doesn't have to be perfect in the way you want it to be.
You just doodle, right? It's all about doodling. That's what Zentangles are, is just repeated doodles. So I added some interesting stripes there, right above my P. And it's looking a little too close to the bullseye I put in the middle, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I might get my thicker Sharpie. I would suggest having a thick Sharpie and a thin Sharpie to do this. That's what I told Marcella to grab. Let's see. Now I don't have a whole lot of dark area going on in the middle, so I might do some darker stripes and just kind of color some in.
Oh, I know what you can do.
What?
You can make a pattern, and then you can make that one pink and do black.
That's exactly what I was going to do. You read my mind. So I'm going to do a pattern with my stripes. Good job, Marcella.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that one's black, then I skip one. And this one's black, and then I skip one, right?
Yeah.
Can you do a pattern on yours? I want to see what kind of pattern you come up with.
White, black.
White, black. So I'm going to be very careful. This is something you also want to think about when you're doing this, is you want to really be careful and be precise with where you're putting your lines, because you're going straight Sharpie on your paper, and if you make a mistake, you're going to have to try and work with it or fix it in some way using your Sharpies. You can't white it out, you can't erase it, so you need to be very specific with where you're putting things, and that's why you need to go slow and concentrate on what you're doing.
I cannot read people's minds.
Well, nobody can, silly goose. Okay, I'm going to add one more stripe here because I didn't like that just one thin line. I was going to bug my OCD a little bit there.
Whoa, that looks so cool.
Do you like the stripes?
Yeah.
I think the stripes look pretty neat. It adds some extra dark spot at the bottom. So when I go through and I start doing more Zentangles up here, I might want to think about adding some dark area here to kind of help balance it out so this side doesn't look so heavy with dark. How I'm going to do that yet? I have no idea. I'm going to figure that out. Maybe I can do some zigzag lines again going this way like I did over here.
You can tell that I'm wearing jammies today because I went to bed and I didn't even take a shower or anything.
It's okay. It's a jammy day. I'm in my jammies today too. No big deal.
When I watch creepy movies. So.
Yeah, you watched some creepy movies today?
And want to do it again, but I can't.
What else did we do today? Do you remember? What did we do in your playroom?
We built a Lego thing, and you can buy it, but Mom bought it because I cleaned up my playroom.
Yep, it was a gift for cleaning up your playroom, and we got the Friends Lego kit, and we put that together today.
And it's done.
So there's some more Zentangles I started adding to the top. I realized I can go ahead and add a darker zigzag line to the top to help balance out the dark on the bottom. So I'm just going to keep adding to this. Like I said, you just kind of keep repeating designs, keep going about adding to it, decide. I would go lighter before you go darker. So like right now I'm adding some light stuff to the middle, okay? And I keep adding to it a little bit at a time. And then decide, do I want to make that darker? If so, maybe add a little bit extra or thicken up my lines, add other designs to it, and just keep going across until I feel like I have enough dark spots. I repeat a lot of patterns and designs until it's all filled up except for my individual white spaces that I already have on here. Okay, so that's what I got going on today. Marcel's going to work on hers. I'm going to finish this one up, and then we'll post up the pictures in the comments. Please let me know if you have questions. I do Zentangles a lot, so if you need any advice or need help finding a link to some helpful websites that will kind of get you started, let me know. Thanks for joining us, guys.